All right. So, is technology disrupting our coaching? We've heard something about it in the morning, but is it disrupting? Let's hear an interesting discussion to find the answer to this question. So, next up, on a panel discussion on coaching in the wake of disruptive technology, yes, you can think about AI, ML, and whatnot. Session moderated by Devika Thorat. Devika is an ICF credentialed PCC coach and comes with 18 years of experience, primarily in the HR space. Her last 4 years have been predominantly in leadership coaching. She is currently associated with PwC as an internal leadership coach. Over to you, Devika.
Thank you, Smita. So, I dropped my technology. So, welcome everyone, and I know difficult session after the lunch break, but I'm glad that Sheila had such a wonderful skit, so it woke up everyone. So, I was just thinking, I need to ask you, how's the Josh? Then I was thinking, what is Josh here? I should say, how's the coach? How's the coach? What answer am I going to get? Not bad? Good? Awake? Let's hear it. Still awake. Still awake. Great. So before that, and we get the group a little together, I'm going to say, give a high five to the person on your right. Find a person on your right if you don't have one. Call someone ahead. Yeah, get closer. And shake hands with the one on your left. Do you have someone on your left? Okay, great. So we are all awake. And before we start, yesterday I was just reading up on this topic because we have this wonderful panel here who are all techie guys, tech plus coach combination, and we have someone who's hardcore tech. So I thought being a coach, I need to read a little bit about the tech part, otherwise I'm going to be lost on this panel. So while I was reading, and it was quite late at night, so I was almost falling asleep, and then I came across a question which was very interesting, and I said, let me just stick with this and forget reading the rest of it, okay? And that question I thought was great to start today's conversation. It said, if calculators didn't replace mathematicians, will AI replace coaches? With that, I'll say no more, and I'll invite on stage our esteemed panelists to talk about or give us insights on this extremely relevant and current topic, because we all as coaches need to know how we can use technology to enhance our skills. We can't be left behind. So let me start by calling on stage Vinita, Gera first. Vinita specializes in mentorship for mid to senior women leaders. Vinita is also the president of SEEP, Software Exporters Association of Pune, which is a forum for CXOs of tech organizations in Pune. Vinita has worked with various large organizations for 27 years, like Dell Technologies, BMC Software, and Veritas, in the capacity of engineering lead and center head. So let's have a Josh wala welcome for Vinita. Next on stage, I call upon Murari, who landed in Pune at, I think, 1:15 from Bangalore. And we had our fingers crossed that he reaches here on time, and he did. So thank you so much. Murari is from Google. A data visionary, Murari has spent over 17 years empowering Fortune 500 companies with cutting-edge data strategies. His current focus on generative AI, that's what we want to hear about, is unlocking transformative solutions for real-world challenges. An author and Niti Aayog mentor, wow, for change, Murari is a passionate advocate for democratizing data knowledge. So welcome, Murari. Let's have another round of applause for Murari. And last but not the least, and who has told me to press the mute button if he talks too much, so even audience can help me. So I call upon stage Venkat. Venki, of course, is our Hyderabad chapter, is from our Hyderabad chapter. Venki is a PCC coach and a tech guy who is launching something very unique in the coaching industry. That's using AI to take coaching to the masses in Indian languages. Amazing. First e-commerce application in 1997. He's an entrepreneur at heart. He has already launched an international first multilingual personal growth chatbot in WhatsApp. So amazing, and let's hear more about him. And again, a big round of applause. Okay. Hello? Yeah, I can be heard. So we would expect some questions at the end. We've kept some time for question answers. So do start framing your questions in your mind. And to start the conversation, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to tell us what is their take on this topic, coaching in the wake of disruptive technology. So since Venkat is sitting right next to me, I'll start with Venkat.
I think one thing we can all agree on is the rate of adoption is increasing dramatically. If you see the rate of adoption of the internet, it was quite fast. The rate of adoption of mobile, faster. Generative AI is literally less than a year old, and the adoption is mind-boggling. So it just, the way I see it is, it's going to accelerate a lot more, and we're just at the early stages right now. That's my story.
Great. Vinita?
Yeah, absolutely disruptive, beyond imagination. Some of these things are very hard to visualize and imagine just until 6 months back. And like Venkatesh rightly said, internet, this is as disruptive or maybe even more disruptive than what internet changed our lives. It's now the first time such a big disruption is happening in our lives. We adapted the first one, we're going to adapt this one. It's going to be in literally every part of our life. And there'll be very, very few things where a bot won't be talking to us.
Great. Murari, can we hear from you?
Yeah, so I am maybe odd one out here. I am completely technologist and happy to share the experience onto the generative AI. What I feel, and when I speak about this topic, right, maybe whether it's related to coaching or other, right, I would always say that creativity is the limit, right? Whatever you think is possible with technology. Okay, so definitely it is going to impact the coaching sector or mentorship sector as well, because there will be a lot of potential with the technology, and it will definitely give you more power to the coaching space.
Great, thank you. So with that, let's just start with a few question answers. And I think I will not do question answers, and I'm going to just throw something at you. Venkat, let's start with you. Since you have a bot, coaches versus bots, what's your take?
I think there's no versus. You know, the first time Garry Kasparov, one of those big chess players, they got defeated by AI. The question that we need to ask ourselves is, would we be interested in watching two AIs playing chess with each other? So coaches versus bots, I think it's a no-brainer. The human connect can never be fully given by a bot yet. However, the way I look at bots is almost every business today has its own website, right? And sooner or later, we will all end up having our own personal chatbots for our business or brand or whatever. It's a matter of time. The only difference is that the interaction level is a lot more higher. And again, when it comes to bots versus coaches, a bot is available 24/7, 3:30 a.m. I'm not asleep. I can give a question, get an answer. You could argue that you could have a team of coaches sitting 24/7 answering it, but then my response would be sooner or later they're going to end up becoming robots as well.
And that sounds like a BPO call center 24/7.
But something I would like to share very quickly, you'll cut me short if I run out of time, is when you spoke about the WhatsApp bot. So my dad has been after my life for the past, I don't know, since 2009. What do you do as a coach? He's 84 years old now. And I gave up after a while. When we launched the WhatsApp bot, Appa was the first guy to test it. He insisted, I want to be the first. Fine. He posed a few questions, got a few answers, and then suddenly Appa means dad. Appa becomes very quiet. And the coach in me died, and the IT guy in me woke up, and I said, Appa, I can't be patient anymore. What's happening? What are you doing? You don't like the bot? Appa says, well, I asked your chatbot a few questions. It has asked me to find my own solution. So I'm thinking, let me think.
That's a good one.
And one more example. My daughter's friend used the chatbot because my daughter boasted about it. A 17-year-old kid. She tells my daughter, tell your papa that I love the bot. It is so friendly. She knows that it's a robo.
Okay.
So there is a lot of leverage as coaches we can get out of it. It's not a question of versus. It's a question of how well we can leverage it. The day we launched the chatbot, 2 posts on LinkedIn, overnight we got 373 users, overnight, who had a first-hand coaching experience, most of them non-coaches. Now just visualize, if I had to give a sample session to 373 users, the time, effort, energy would have gone into it.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And from this coach to technology, integration, let's move to Murari and let's see what he has to say about chatbots.
Yeah, so what I would say is, going forward, it will going to complement each other, okay? So it's not that the coach will go away, right? Because the human touch, human feeling, bot cannot bring, right? I would again try to share one example where maybe you must have seen that Toyota was selling the car in 1 rupee. Okay, what happened? There was a generative AI bot created onto the website. Somebody played around it and it was trained so badly that the car was sold on 1 rupee. So where do you will bring that intelligence, right? Finally, that context, that human intelligence, that human understanding will definitely come from coach. So even we can say that, okay, technology is evolving, but it cannot replace any human. There is always a question into the industry that, okay, whether my job will go away because of this technology and others, right? Never, because that human intelligence, human touch will definitely require, even though technology may scale to whatever extent. So I would always say that it will complement each other. Definitely you need to make technology as a friend so that you can leverage as and when required to make it more powerful in your business.
Okay, thank you. And Vinita, we'll have your take. And Vinita is also a coach, so would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so look, coach versus bot, let's just stick to that, the difference for a minute, and then I'll move to the complementary part of it. It's a given. I think everything that I say now is known. The emotion, the aha moment. I can't imagine a bot giving me a deep aha moment very easily. And maybe that's the limitation of my imagination. So emotion, aha moments, trust, right? And it also depends on who I am, who the coachee is. If the coachee is all about a human connection, one will always look for that, and how much ever we humanize the bots, whichever part. Back of the mind, I know this is still a bot, right? Taking an example of fitness. Right? There's fitness coaches who've been around for very long, and fitness digital coaches, right? Have been around. I've paid, which is that HA build yoga, right? Where millions and millions of people are subscribed. In the last month, I attended 3 times. I pay the personal trainer at old gym, and there I'm very regular, right? I miss, say, 2 classes. There's a difference because I know there's a human here. Also, there's a human at the yoga class also, the online yoga class also. And today we have technology at the tips of our finger. But that could be, look, my motivation could be a little low. For the highly motivated, I think the bot can do wonders. So it's intrinsic. So it will vary from a person to person. However, I was thinking about the other part. You know, rather than coach versus bot, a coach with the bot. That I think is super powerful. And every time as coaches we've learned, right? Don't tell, but ask, explore, make them think. But we're human at the end of the day. We get into the little tell mode. It becomes even difficult for us. So imagine the power of such small tips that we get from some technology, whether it is a bot or any other technology. Imagine the rephrase. Imagine the effectiveness I can add to my own coaching with the help of a bot. You can go on and on imagining how many more things you can do. So I would say coach with a bot is the only option going forward. And I'll take one example from a past automation, right? Of course, the internet came, but the internet wasn't a threat. It didn't lose jobs. We all know about the ATMs that came, and people thought bank folks will lose their job. In my industry, and I think Smita over here will relate to it very well, we had developers and we had testers all throughout in the initial at least 10 years of my engineering life. The moment test automation started, the only people who got left behind were the manual testers. The one job that became totally redundant was the test manager, right? The manager of the people who were manual testing. So when I look at this landscape today, Devika, I feel if a coach today is without a bot, there is a little bit of a threat over there, at least today, and may only increase.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to ask you the next question, Vinita, and you said it. Our coach is going to become redundant, but I think I'll reframe that question and I'll say, what would make a coach redundant? Because I think, will coaches become redundant? We've answered that question, that no, if you're working with technology, you're going to be in the market. But who or what is going to make us redundant, or who are the coaches that will become redundant? That is what we'd want to hear from this panel.
Okay, I'll go first on this and then pass on. Look, some coaches may get redundant. That could be due to many reasons, not just bots. I also feel the demand supply on coaches is a little messed up today because the price is messed up. So I'm thinking, if a coach with a technology can be a little bit more economical, right? And I'm not suggesting coaches charge less at all. That's not the intention here. But the reason, when I look at this whole skewed equation of demand and supply, it's mainly because people can only afford coaches for leaders, right? Whether it's CXOs, CXO -1, at max CXO -2. I've seen very few companies democratize coaching within their organization. So coaching demand supply is already a situation that we've had for multiple years. Now comes AI, right? Now comes the whole, bots like Apna, and I'll have my story on Apna because it was an amazing experience. I used it just today. So that's coming in, that's adding, and it's only started. There isn't a technology company that's not building a bot today or not having an AI business unit. So this is only going to increase. So situation 1, demand supply problem. Situation 2, lots of innovation happening. And then what does a coach do? So there is some redundancy that will come. But here is where we remove all the fears, if there is a fear. I think the fear can be high. If we haven't tried ChatGPT, the simple one, and I'll close with one thought. When we went into this whole test automation, testers had to learn how to program. The good news here, now, you only have to learn how to speak to the bot. You only have to learn how to prompt, how to use the right words to get the maximum. That's simple English. So you don't have to learn programming. It's possible to do that.
Thank you, Vinita. Interesting thoughts. Venkat, because you have the bot now, let's hear it from you. Are you making us redundant? Or making yourself redundant, I would say.
Making myself redundant, I don't know, time will tell, because I also wear the startup hat. But to be brutally honest here, when I went on my ICF certification path, I decided to go straight away for PCC because I was very occupied with another startup that was a failure because of COVID. But after getting the PCC certification, I felt redundant for a while because I thought suddenly the leads will come pouring in.
That's what all of us think, right?
So redundancy, I don't think coaches will become redundant if they're not leveraging generative AI. Generative AI, for those in the room, is AI that generates content, right? That generates a conversation, not just an if, else, what, click menu, but that actually engages you in a conversation like a human being. So if coaches don't use generative AI, I don't think they'll become redundant. It's not a black or white scenario, but it will help. In the situation as I see today, even people of my generation, even the so-called leaders who are not from the tech industry, they need to be tech savvy today. If coaches are not tech savvy, and increasingly the younger generation is all the more tech savvy these days, if as a coach I'm not tech savvy, forget my role with the bot, etc. When I'm coaching somebody and when he or she asks me, hey, what do you think about generative AI? And I give them the usual gyan. Gyan is knowledge, the truth about life and death and beyond and after. If I give them the usual gyan saying, oh, it can't replace me as a human being, they will look at me and say, you haven't even tried it, what are you talking about? So it's important for us as coaches to understand the capabilities, to understand what it does before we choose a choice. It's a choice at the end of the day, whether as a coach I decide to use it or not. Let it be a conscious choice, not a choice out of a bias, number one. Number two is that recently there are Amazon, Google's just come out with Gemini Pro, Meta, Facebook, they've released Llama 2, which is now free. It won't be free for a long time. Google is aggressively promoting this. Microsoft is behind AI. And as a startup, I know all these four guys have been after my life since August. In other words, trying to seduce my startup. And Microsoft gave me a fantastic sponsorship. So the amount of energy that's going into this is fantastic. And for those of you non-tech people in the room, if you take some time out to to evaluate Microsoft Power AI, and especially if you can link up with some startup, you do not have to be a software programmer to try out Power AI and AI chatbots in the Microsoft ecosystem. You just need, even with an intern, you could get it done. Okay, so there is technology for you to evaluate and for you to judge how best you can leverage it. So redundancy is a different topic altogether.
Yeah, so it sounds like partnership with technology more than anything else, partnering with technology. Great, so thank you for your thoughts, and I'll pass it on to Murari for the same question, though he's from the non-coaching background. Let's see if you're going to make us redundant. And he's talking about Google creating, using AI, etc., etc.
Yeah, so see, I would say coaches may become redundant if they will not use technology. Definitely, if I have a choice of selecting two coaches, one uses technology, another does not use technology, I would go for the person who uses technology. Because I am into the technical world, I would prefer, and I will try to maybe select someone who have the technology background, or I would not say background, maybe a system which can help me to do the things little faster, maybe, right? And definitely, as coaches also, it will enable you to do some automation, some BAU work solved, right? Just to talk about, right, little bit onto the technical side, how does this generative AI or LLM concept came in? There is a single sentence which initiated this concept is what called as all what you need is attention. Okay? All what you need is attention, like a human, right? And that's where this concept came in. If you will go and read the paper called Transformer, which is given by Google in 2017, this was the only one sentence on which this complete technology is based. Generative AI, LLM, which is large language model, everything is based on all what you need is attention.
Sounds like coaching.
That's
what we say we do.
Yeah. So there are multiple different technology came into the market, and I will try to maybe share my thought maybe in next question, but definitely happy to go into more details also if required.
And with that, of course, the great segue into the next question, and let's start with you. Technology trends and threats. If we start using technology, what is it that we use, and what are the threats? We'll hear a lot of threats, data protection, etc., etc. So let's hear it from the technology person. What are we getting ourselves into?
And thanks a lot for being my customer, because this is something which is asked by my customer, that you will steal my data, where my data will go, how I can use my data, etc., etc., right? So definitely see, with superpower, the responsibility comes, right? So, and again, this is coming from Spider-Man, right? So, what you need to do is you need to make sure couple of aspects when you are maybe working towards or adopting towards generative AI or any other technology, right? Recently, or I would say yesterday, Google launched something called as 1.5, Gemini 1.5. There was a limitation of token size. I'm not sure how many maybe are on that technology end, but there was so generative AI works onto the token limit. There was always a limitation onto the technology side when you go ahead and ask the prompt. When I say prompt is response which you get or a word. So it was I think 32K, 64K, 84K was the limit. Yesterday we launched which is 1 million token. So you can go ahead and maybe generate any content which is a type of 1 million. Right, so that's where I'm saying technology will going to evolve, right? And there will be, and it's a competition which is going on right now into the market. Llama, Meta, and then OpenAI, ChatGPT-4, Gemini. So there are so many things, and I'm not sure where it is going to stop. I was in one of the conference yesterday, and maybe one of the person asked, "Do you know what will happen after 6 months? I will stay there or not?" I said, even I don't know what will happen to me, how I can answer for you. So that's what I'm saying. So technology is at a very fast pace growing, and it's very important for us also to adopt and progress on that. Something very important which brings the threat is responsibleness, right? And as part of Google, what we follow is something called a responsible AI principle. If we are picking any AI project, we definitely make sure that it falls under the 7 principle which is laid by Google. The data should not be biased. We are not trying to maybe use it for something which is which is going to impact the society. So there are multiple rules, guardrails, governance which are provided, right? one of the very important aspects with respect to coaching, which definitely I see as a common thing, is biasness in the data, right? Because as human, we are so biased around our topics or around our students, right? Generally, that gets propagated to our model also. So what I would say is, maybe when you are using the technology, make sure that you take care of the biasness, responsibility, etc., etc., so that you use the technology into a right way to maybe take it forward for a proper implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll hear it from Vinita. What are your thoughts?
So lots of opportunities, right? But in the realm of, in the scope of technology and bots and AI for coaching, I don't see too many threats in that. If you just, I mean, overall technology, there's threats in many, many areas that you could say. Bias is a big one. I know the crime rate, like as an example, if you were using a bot for face recognition, and if that data is biased towards a certain look and feel, you know, I could get away with a crime and not get caught, and somebody else might get caught because the data is biased. But when it comes to the usage of technology in coaching, I can only think of efficiency, enhancement, and look, the intelligence is still there, right? You could, if I'm a coachee using a bot today for coaching, and I give it a particular situation, what's the worst thing that will happen? It won't solve my problem, right? That's the worst thing. So I'm back to where I was. And this morning I used the bot that Venkat has shared with, I think, every participant of today's thing, and I put it in a very real situation. And I went in with a bias. I thought this is only going to give me very dry, drab responses. Like I went in with that thing, but I said, sure, he's my co-panelist, let me explore. I don't know if I would have done it otherwise. I played around, and the way it, there are 2 or 3 things that caught my attention, and you and me haven't spoken about this yet. The way it rephrased, right? There's the concept of paraphrasing. The way it paraphrased what I asked, not what I asked, I said something and it was paraphrasing it. It added its own flavor to it, which was very impressive, because I thought, if I'm saying I'm confused, it'll say, oh, are you confused? You know, you'll just use the word that I'm using.
Or reflecting back.
Yeah, I was just saying it's going to mirror it because it's technology. It didn't. It paraphrased with certain and I don't know how he did that. It got me thinking on the whole tech track on, you know, how did he do all of that. But that was one part. Second, it religiously only didn't give me solutions. It only explored, probed, asked, everything to the level that I'm like, okay, you're asking too many questions, which is probably what happens in a real coaching scenario also. It makes you think harder and harder to the level that, and I have 2 of my coaches sitting right now in this room, they make you uncomfortable. That night you think, right? So if a bot could do that, I was very, very impressed. Now comes the other part, right? The psychological part, that I still know this is not a human coaching me. This is technology. Yes. Now if I choose to not treat it with the same respect as a human, that's on me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Great. And a thought came to me because you've used the bot. So what about generalization versus specialization or personalization? Does the bot, you know, kind of generalize? If Murari uses the bot and you use the bot, would there be commonality in the responses that come out?
They didn't explore that much.
Just Venkat a thought. Venkat would. So Venkat, you can go with that now.
I'm thinking, and I would say it depends. Depends on the context of the user, what the user has asked in the past. I want to give you a very, very big hug on behalf of my entire team right now for the nice words. In terms of, and that's where the generative piece comes in, you know, where it generates answers based on your context. What you experience today, by today evening, you will see a demo in multiple languages, including in Indian languages. Any international language will have the similar kind of response. We have a challenge with a couple of Indian languages, but we'll fix it as time goes by. I'm already dreaming about my next project, which is a voice-to-voice interaction in Hindi. A voice-to-voice interaction in English with tone and emotion, automatic.
With accent, I guess. With accent.
That's still a couple of 6 to 7 months away of some hard work before we get there, but I will get there. He spoke about responsibility and privacy. So in the chatbot that we've implemented security and privacy to such an extent that even in my team, nobody will have a clue who's using that. First of all, in my team, except for me, nobody can see those conversations. And we don't ask for an email address or a name or a phone number or whatever. So you can experience the bot in complete anonymity for yourselves and for your clients. More on about that on the demo later. Responsibility. So on top of the artificial intelligence, there is a human level, right? I remember one of my managers got upset when his boss told him, first implement human intelligence, then we'll talk about AI later. He came complaining to me saying, this is what my boss said. So, but here's the thing, it's not simply a question of designing. A well-known international coach, I won't give you the name, but you can guess, came out with his own or her own AI model recently. So I decided to explore. I first asked the bot, what are you based on? List of books. Give me a list of books. It gave me a list. Give me a list of, I picked the first book. Give me a list of all the chapters. It did. I said, give me the entire book. It said, sorry, I can't do that. I don't have the capacity. It's too big a size. I said, fine, summarize the first chapter. It summarizes beautifully. Summarize the second chapter. So it gave me a summary of the entire book. I didn't have to read the book. And I'm not sure whether I will buy the book now because the summary that was generated by a machine, but I'm biased based on that. The question is not whether how do we technically do this. It's a simple answer, even in internal game. The question is the design. The people who designed the bot, did they include this by design? That I'm giving away contents of the book at a cost. The cost is, while I'm getting all these summaries, for every, say, I don't know, text of this much size, it is costing that guy $1, $1. You see where I'm going with this? So it's in addition to responsibility in being ethical, without bias, keeping anonymity and privacy, there's always the human intelligence on top. And another interesting trend to watch out for is video. That's my next year's dream project, where we capture a celebrity like my most favorite political character, our Prime Minister of the country. I capture enough data of his audios and videos where I generate a video response to your question on the fly in Hindi.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so you know what I've got from this session that, yeah, of course, use AI bots, AI especially for your administrative stuff and transactional stuff so that you have time to do deeper, better coaching. Secondly, you know, somewhere I read that use it for the initial coaching session, you know, the initial where you're just gathering information and then use that to spot patterns and then use that data to get into deeper kind of coaching sessions, advanced sessions. So that's like, it's helping you to become better coaches, basically. So that's what I get from this conversation. But as we end this interesting conversation, let's have this last final thought. And I'm going to put this punishment in one sentence. Please summarize your take now as we leave this session. So, Murari, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah, I can go first. So if I have to summarize, don't worry, it is not going to threaten you. It is your friend. Try to adopt it. Try to basically see that how you can bring that friend into your home or into your job so that it can try to grow you more faster and more efficient.
Great, thank you. One sentence. Vinita.
Yeah, I think till human beings are a little, not taking charge of their career on their own, bots will not be able to do things. So the fundamental gap of human beings still, and when I say human beings, let's just take India's population and let's just put how many people are willing to take charge. Okay, that was one sentence, but I'm going around.
No, it's go ahead.
How many people are willing to take charge of their health, their career, their life, everything, right? Their finances. There's a large population that is still not taking care of it. Till then, we need human beings for almost everything, with or without technology. We'll do it.
Thank you, Vinita. And closing remarks, one sentence. Venkat, one sentence.
Be a part of the change or wonder what changed.
Oh, wow. I love that. That was a great closing statement. And now I see a lot of clapping, so the Josh is back, I think. So, yeah, we have questions. Before I could say question.
Is it your tagline?
My tagline is Sabka Apna Vikas.
Or you could just, I think, shout out.
How much time do we have?
We're on.
We are almost done. Probably we can take 2 questions.
And please tell us who the question is for, if you can.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for those inputs. I'm not sure if this is a question, but it's more to provoke the panel. So it's not to any one of you particular. I'm sure each one of you have heard of the name Noam Chomsky. He's a linguist, and he has a point of view on generative AI. I'm going to, if you allow me, quote him, and it's not to do in the coaching context. The point about coaching that bots can help, make it more efficient, nudge, etc., all taken, bought in. But it's when coming to generate content is where I tend to what Noam says makes sense. So here it goes. I'm quoting him. In short, ChatGPT and its brethren are constitutionally unable to balance creativity with constraint. They either over-generate, producing both truths and falsehoods, endorsing ethical and unethical decisions alike, or under-generate, exhibiting non-commitment to any decisions and indifference to consequences. Given the immorality, the foresights, and linguistic incompetence of these systems, we can only laugh or cry at their popularity.
I love that, and I think I want to start because the first thing, sorry panel, the first thing popped in my mind is here is where human intelligence will come into play. Moral, immoral, right, wrong, and then you need a human to really take that decision when both are lying in front of you. So sorry to jump in.
We emphasize he's a linguist, and he's one of the most provocative thinkers in the American sort of political science space and so on and so forth.
I'd like to add a thought on that one. With any new technology, and although AI is not new, when I did my engineering back in the late 80s, 90s, we did AI projects back then. So AI is not new, but the generative AI, that part is new, and it's still very new. So couple of years, this might change. This is very true now, over generation, repeat generation, not solving, no commitment is quite true right now. I don't know, I don't think, none of the technologies have stayed in steady state. Each technologies have evolved way beyond our imagination. So I think this will
in a couple of years we expect generative AI to become sentient?
Yes, OpenAI is working on something called AGI, which is artificial generated intelligence, where even it will learn based on penalties and rewards. So it will generate at a completely new level altogether. But it goes back to the previous example I gave, wherein I was able to read the contents of a book summary for free, right? So it will always depend on how one is leveraging technology. She gave the example of drones, right? There were zero standards on drones till even about 2-3 years back. Anybody could manufacture a drone and fly it anywhere they liked without any kind of regulation whatsoever. So when technology is accelerating rapidly, it's also the job of governing agencies to evolve much more rapider than that and put in regulations. Similar to GDPR in Europe for privacy, there are now laws coming up for responsible AI. So it is something that's evolving so rapidly, and it depends on the humans who are implementing it. It is their responsibility to ensure that it's implemented in a way that actually makes sense given a particular context, right? Like the experience she had, I hope my team listens to this and they will hug me in return. This is brilliant. This is what we want to achieve. The goal for us in giving this bot out is not to gather data, is not to gather people's data. We sincerely want to demonstrate that it can help in having a very meaningful conversation around personal growth. So it really depends on how well one designs and implements things.
Absolutely, and I would also want to add that in you.
I'll just add maybe
like
10 seconds, right? So see, as Vinita said, this is an evolving technology. Definitely there is a problem maybe for ethics, content generation. Sometimes you can say some abrupt answer. Definitely there is there, right? But the way it is growing, right? So when did I think this ChatGPT came? Last year, April or May. Until today, you must have seen the improvement and the journey. And maybe you think down the line 6 months, what is going to happen? Okay? So definitely it's an evolving thing, and it will going to mature and take some leading role into the technology, definitely.
And I just want to add that I was amazed that universities have courses now on ethics, AI ethics and regulations. So I think it's coming, and people do understand the flip side of it. So can we take oh my God, but I think we're running short of time.
We are short of time, yes. We are short of time.
We are running short of time, but just one, we'll take one, and I'll ask the panel to answer very quickly.
Hello there, my name is Louis Gardner. I'm from Scotland, the UK. And one of the things I want to say is when I hear people talking about AI and technology in the ways that you or as the panel have, there is an edge of an idea that it is beneficent. And that worries me. It worries beneficent goodness. It's, ultimately it'll all be for good. And I want to draw everybody's attention here to a book by a woman called Kate Crawford called The Map of AI. Read it. If you read nothing else, read that. And I want to just do a little extract because the question, the thing that you mentioned about it'll only cost 1 rupee or $1 for somebody to use a chat GPT thing or a bot. Make no mistake, when AGI is used, it uses 1,000 times more energy to extract data. So they amplify that exponentially. The crisis we have on the planet, this is not to be taken lightly. And Hannah Arendt, after the Second World War, woke up to the fact that just because we can do something does not mean we should. And AI and ChatGPT and all of that is scouring data, extracting from every single piece of data that goes into the internet. It is being drawn out and looking for similarities. It is missing outlier signals of danger. It is missing differences. So I worry, and I'm sorry, it's not a question, but, well, I could say, what do you think about that? How does that change anything you might be doing?
Should we resonate, I think. The sustainability angle, and this happened, there was a whole uproar on this when ChatGPT came out. The sustainability angle is completely in question on the number of data centers coming up, etc. And there's a bigger picture here, and there's what can I do about it, right? The choices I have is to not use because, as an individual, because it's wrong ethically, not ethically, from a planet perspective it's wrong. And the other option I have is to use it and enhance whatever I'm doing, my profession. If you look around in the companies together, and this is largely, right, corporates overall, there is barely any digital company today that is not investing in AI. So it's the same thing as smartphones. When smartphones came out.
For jumping in, I mean, this is just because everybody's doing, I mean, thank you very much for bringing that. Just because
it's an important topic, I'm not denying that.
right, it's like,
Yeah. Okay, I think we can take this for the tea. We have another panel after this, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, closing.
food and caffeine. It's a bit like when the pandemic hit us, everybody was up in a row that, work from home is going to be the reality forever. Where the heck are we with it? We are in hybrid now. Give it another 2 years, it's back to work. I mean, can we look at a bigger picture, hybrid or work from home, if that was to ever become a reality?
Just 10 seconds.
The banks, which have the biggest exposure to commercial real estate, they will go belly up. So, just because the whole, I'm just being provocative.
From a pure sustainability perspective, let me just add this. As technology evolves, the amount of environmental impact is reducing because of faster GPUs, bigger disks, capacity with smaller power footprint. So when technology evolves, that's evolving side by side, and we've seen that. Murari can talk about more of that offline, I guess.
Yeah, here also I will talk that companies are looking at sustainability, net zero, climate change. This is also being considered because I think companies understand the footprint that they're leaving.
Cost of becoming net zero, the past go into any board meeting, they are not willing to absorb these costs.
Yeah.
So eventually what they'll say, okay, pass it on to this little schmuck who's absolutely smitten by ChatGPT.
Okay.
And start charging them.
So that's great points, and we'll carry it forward when we have the tea break, but we have the next panel coming up. So thank you. And of course, there are mixed views about everything. Thank you, and I want to thank all the panelists for being here. Great conversation. Thanks, Murari, Vinita, and Venkat. And thank you, audience. How's the Josh now?
In thinking mode. Thank you, Devika. Please stay. I'll ask Shilpa to felicitate you. Thank you for conducting a wonderful panel session.
Thank you.
All right, we have our next sessions coming up in different halls. So we give you 2 minutes to shift if you want, and the people who want to settle here, please settle down so we can start.